Before I get started in this video, I just want to let you know that I've been sick for about a week. I'm feeling better, but I still have a little bit of brain fog going on. So if I say or seem to lose my train of thought a little bit, well, that's why like I said, I'm feeling better, and by next week, or whenever this next video comes out after this one, I should be back to normal. I still think this video is going to be pretty good though, having said that, but I just wanted to say that up front as the start here. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the 3 biggest mistakes that people who play solo RPGs make, or people who want to play solo RPGs make. The first of these big mistakes is not getting started. I see so many people go online and talk about solo RPGs and what they want to play. I've talked to a few of my gaming friends who say, yeah, I want to play solo RPGs. The biggest mistake I see these people making is not getting started. Sure, do a little research on the system you want to play to make sure it's going to work for you. Do a little research on the type of character that you want to create, but then choose a system, build a character. Heck, build more than one character if you want, if you're nervous that that first character might not work out, and then just get started playing. It's kind of the hardest first step, especially if you've never played solo RPGs before, because there's just something that's a little bit different about sitting down with a book of rules in front of you and kind of using those rules to create the story as you go. But once you get the hang of it, it can be really, really fun. I do have another video that I'll link that explains my simple 3-step system to playing solo RPGs. You can check that out if you're brand new and have no idea where to start. But that's the very first step, is sitting down, picking a system, building a character, and simply getting started. If you're still not sure where to go and how to get started, then you're gonna like my second tip. The second biggest mistake that I see solo RPG gamers make is not beginning with the end in mind. So many people I talk to who play solo RPGs, so many people I converse with online who want to play solo RPGs, want to create these large epic stories, think Lord of the Rings, all 3 books, and that's the experience that they want to have at the table the very first time that they sit down. And don't get me wrong, if I could do that, I would do that as well. That's an incredible idea, and I would love to sit down and be able to create a story with that much depth and setting and history inside of, several gaming sessions at the table. The reality is, most of us are not that smart, not that good at creating stories, especially when you're interacting with gameplay mechanics. And I think that the goal, when it's that large, often causes people to A, never get started, or B, their game fizzles out. They don't get very far in the game because they play a session or two and they realize, oh, for my character to accomplish all of these things that I've set out for them to do, that's going to take months, if not years, of real life gaming time before my character is going to get to those payoffs. So what I suggest for new and experienced solo gamers to do is to pick an end goal for your character. This end goal should be attainable. It should be based on your character's motivations or history, or it should be based on something about your character when you were building them in character creation. And most importantly, this end goal should be short in terms of gameplay. Now, this is something that I think Ironsworn does a very, very good job of with the Oath system. If you haven't played Ironsworn, check it out. They have a really good Oath system where you basically pick a goal that your character is working towards, and it can be, I can't remember how they label them, maybe short, medium, and long goals. And I would suggest starting with the short goal because it allows you to achieve something in your first or second session that feels like a pretty good story. And that is what I think a lot of solo RPGers are missing, is they're missing that first goal, that first milestone on the journey that you can, at the end of it, say, oh, that was fun, I want to start a new character. Or you can say, oh, that was just chapter 1, now I'm going to pick a new goal. Think about like a TV show. A TV show, especially an epic one with multiple seasons, doesn't have sometimes they do have like one overarching goal that goes throughout, but they're going to have all these other goals in between. They don't just focus on the big picture. They have a plot arc for each episode. They usually have a plot arc for each season, or a few for each season. And then sure, they might have plot arcs that extend across multiple seasons. And I think that's a really, really smart way to structure your gaming sessions. You should always have a beginning and end goal for a session, but it's hard to figure out what that's going to be when you're sitting down for the game for a first time. So I think when you sit down for the first time to play a game, you should pick a goal for your character that is attainable, that makes sense with your character's history, but is also very, very short and can be accomplished in 1 to 3 gaming sessions. And then after that goal is accomplished, maybe in 2 gaming sessions, you can have this sense of accomplishment. The story is complete. You've successfully played a solo RPG. And you can be done with it and pick up a new one. Or you can just pick another goal for that character. That doesn't mean their story's done. It means that that chapter is done and you can continue going forward. This is actually something that I love doing when I play Traveler solo. It's my newest flavor of solo game at the moment. I play a Homeward Bound game. I will probably make a video of this at some time in the future because I'm very proud of it. It's very fun for me. But basically, I build a character, I choose a homeworld, and then I plop them based on their career, the history of their career, somewhere about 10 to 15 jumps away from their homeworld that makes sense. And my task to that character is to buy a ship, pay the mortgages on time, and make it back to their homeworld successfully and safely without being in more debt than they started with. Now that's actually not too difficult to achieve, but it always ends up with a great story, and there's enough free resources out there like travelermap.com that allow for really fun gameplay, I think, in the Traveler setting and the Traveler system. So I'll talk more about that later, but that is number 2. The biggest mistake I see solo RPGers make is not picking an end goal, and I think that every single solo game should have an end goal, and in most cases it should be a very, very short, like a small goal, because you can always extend an arc beyond that. It's a really good starting point to start a story with, or to end a story if you just end up wanting to stop the story right there. So that was number 2, and that brings us to the third biggest mistake that I see solo RPGers make. I see solo RPGers use an oracle too often. I think this might be a controversial suggestion of mine, but I think solo RPGers should not use an oracle, if at all. Now, before I continue on and explain why, I want to say, if you are a gamer who plays solo RPGs and you like using an oracle, then use an oracle. I'm not telling you you're doing something wrong. If you're having fun, then it's working for you. The people that I'm talking to here for this particular tip are the people who have tried to play solo RPGs but bounced off of it, and what I've seen so many times, again, talking to people in person or online, is the interaction with the oracle is the thing that they couldn't get past. And the reason that I think it's happening is because a lot of people who use an oracle don't use it to play the game, rather they use it to create prompts and then do like creative writing exercise off those prompts, or they use it to drive the plot forward. And I think that character choices should drive the plot forward, not necessarily oracle decisions. And journaling gaming is different than RPG gaming. Maybe I'll make a video about that later. But that's, I think, the main distinction here. Now, I want to kind of illustrate this. This is not how everyone uses an oracle, but this is how I've seen a lot of people use oracles, and I think you're missing a little bit if this is how you interact with oracles while you play an RPG. Okay, so let's pretend my character is what's a good name for a character? Here's the brain fog I was talking about. Wilhelm. All right, Wilhelm is coming back from the dungeon. He's cleared the dungeon. He's got a big sack of gold on his back. He's beat up. He's got bruises, cuts. And he comes back to the city, goes to the tavern and sits down, or wants to sit down at a table and just get some food. So if I'm using an oracle, the way that I've seen people online use an oracle, I might first say, okay, are there people in the tavern? Probably 90% yes. So I click the button and it says, yes, there's people at the tavern. Then I say, okay, what do people do when Wilhelm walks into the tavern? Do they notice him? Do they not notice him? 50%. I'll click yes and say, okay, most people don't notice him. That was a no. Okay, is there a seat open for Wilhelm? 50% yes, 50% no. And I'll click the button and it says, yes, there is. Okay, so Wilhelm's going to go sit down. Okay, now does the bartender come over to Wilhelm? 50% yes, 50% no. Click the button. Yes. So the bartender comes over and Wilhelm says, I'd like some mead, some cheese, and some bread, please. And so the bartender goes to get it, brings it back, and the bartender says, that'll be some amount of copper. Okay, so maybe 1d6 per food item. So click the button. Okay, that was 13 copper for the meat, cheese, and bread all combined. So Wilhelm pays, enjoys his cheese, meat, and bread. At the end of it, he does have a room upstairs already, so he wants to climb up there and go to sleep. But as he's leaving, does anybody notice Wilhelm carrying this large sack of loot? 30% yes. The bar is busy, and the previous Oracle answer said no. So 30% yes. Click the button. Ooh, yes, someone does notice this large sack of loot going upstairs. Okay, are they going to act on that? Are they going to do anything about this large sack of loot going upstairs? 50% yes. Okay, so click the button. Ooh, the answer is yes, they are going to do something about that. That was a little exhausting for me to even pretend to roleplay here. And I've seen people play that way online as like introduction videos of here's how you solo roleplay. And I think that anybody interacting that way is missing the game through the Oracle. They're just using the Oracle to drive the plot forward, and they're not actually playing the game. Again, if you enjoy that style of play, enjoy it. I'm not here to tell you that you're playing anything wrong, but I think if you're a person who has tried playing solo RPGs before and it hasn't worked for you, this might be why. You might be looking and using the Oracle in the wrong way. And what I would suggest is just not using the Oracle and instead use common sense, but also like the mechanics of the game to drive interesting plot points forward. So the way that I play is Wilhelm comes back from the dungeon. He's got a sack of loot, bruises and scrapes on his arms. He's beat up, tired, and just wants some food and then go to bed. So he gets to the tavern. Of course, there's people there. We're going to have a seat open for Wilhelm because I don't want to roleplay him waiting around for a seat. That's not interesting to me. And since it's a solo RPG game, I'm just going to make that decision. He sits down. The bartender comes over, gets him some meat cheese. He gets his meat cheese and just kind of, that moment of satisfaction after achieving that first goal of clearing the dungeon and having some loot to spend. Okay, now he's been sitting at the tavern for a while, and he's got a bag of loot, and it's time for him to get up to his room, but there might be someone that is paying attention. Wouldn't that be some more bad luck for Wilhelm, who in his history is always plagued with bad luck? So what I do is I look at Wilhelm's luck stat, I roll against it, and guess what? He fails his luck roll. That means someone there in the tavern does know that Wilhelm has a bunch of loot, and that Wilhelm is likely to be spending that loot at market tomorrow or taking it somewhere else tomorrow. And so this person is watching Wilhelm go upstairs into their room. Now I know, as the person who's running the game, that this person is going to act, but I don't know how yet. So instead of using an oracle, what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a table in my mind. I'm going to say, okay, if I was some sort of thief or rogue, how would I try and steal money from Wilhelm? First of all, I might try and steal it at night, right? I might go up there at midnight and try and go in through the window, pick the lock, and just grab the bag and get out. Number 2, I might try and follow him out to market the next day and pick his pockets. And number 3, I might maybe try and scam him. Maybe meet him in the tavern the next day and have an incredible investment opportunity for Wilhelm. So those are 3 good ideas. So I put those to the side. And then what I'd do is I'd go and look in Wilhelm's history. And I'd take a look and see, okay, does Wilhelm have anyone from his past that might be following him for some reason? If so, this would be a great time for him to show up, or that person to show up, since Wilhelm failed his luck roll. If not, in recent history, has Wilhelm wronged anybody? Was there anyone in the dungeon that he let go or escaped him and now wants vengeance? This, again, would be a great time for this person to show up because, you know what, Wilhelm's got all that loot. Maybe they stole from this person who was in the dungeon and they want that stuff back. Or maybe it was the blacksmith down in the city who Wilhelm, spat at or something, and the blacksmith's like, I hate you now. So maybe the blacksmith was in the tavern, noticed Wilhelm has a bunch of loot, and blacksmith knows the local thieves guild and is like, hey, I got a job for you if I get a cut. That type of thing occurs. So I'd use the history of Wilhelm, I would use the mechanics of Wilhelm's character sheet, and I would use my own ideas to kind of determine what's going to happen next based on this situation that I came up with. And what I've found is that's a much more natural way of playing solo role-playing games, and a much more, I think, satisfactory way of playing solo role-playing games than running every single question that I have through an oracle and letting it spit out answers to me. So those are the three things, the three biggest mistakes that I see solo RPGers make. I see solo RPGers who want to play solo RPGs not getting started. I see them creating large, epic goals for their stories when they should be starting with a small, attainable goal. And I see them feeding every single question they have through an oracle instead of using some common sense and the game mechanics themselves to help move the game forward. So those are my thoughts on big mistakes that solo RPGers make. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, especially the stuff about the Oracle. I'm excited to have some conversations there. I'm hoping to feel better in the next video. But until then, I'll see you in the next video.